Before I start the show, I'd like to say that Mario is still the most popular character in gaming. Anything he touches becomes a success, even if you're not a big fan of a certain Mario game. But there's always something that rattles me. With all the games that he has been in and other characters that have been involved with him, how come we still haven't seen a Mario, a Luigi, a Wario, and a Waluigi game where they're together on some adventure? So here's my question for you. One, will we ever see these plumbers come together as one in an awesome adventure game? And number two, what kind of game will you like to see? Let's begin. And welcome to stage 2 of the In-Game Boss podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, aka your In-Game Boss, aka your retro activist. And it's time for a stage 2. You know, I went through the first 10 episodes. I had great guests come through. I had great segments. I will say that, you know, the first half of the first season, or stage 1, was a bit of a 180 towards halfway, because it was time to do something a little bit different. And, you know, I always say, when you ever do a podcast, by the time you get to your 5th episode or even your 10th episode, you kind of figure out, you know, your kinks and what your formula is and how you want to do it. Now, I've been podcasting, I want to say about 3 or 4 years now, when I did the Gamer Stand podcast, and, you know, it took a while to find out like how my flow is, how do I want to host, how do I want to come up with ideas, who do I want to include, all that kind of stuff. So with that, I take all that and bring it into this to bring me and to keep evolving from there. So stage 2, you know, I like to set this up like, you know, you're going to different worlds, like from like Mario Brothers or any game that invests you to go through several levels before going to a new world. And it's also a new development. You know, try something different, try new ideas. And, you know, what works and doesn't work, I will carry that on to the next stage. And so, but what is the In-Game Boss podcast? If you're now listening and you're jumping in stage 2 in this first episode of it, that's great. Because the goal of this show is to challenge you and to challenge me on questions that maybe we were always wondering about, or why hasn't it happened yet, or some news came out and we discussed about it. And, you know, I'll bring a guest in for certain stuff, or sometimes I like to do episodes maybe by myself and talk about, you know, stuff that's on my mind, or something that I would love to happen, I guess you can say. So we're in this one. And before we even get into the main segment, everything, what I like to do is, one of my favorite things is talk about news and updates. So I will give you news about, you know, some stuff are going in gaming, and then I give you updates what's going on with the network, because this is part of the In-Game Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety shows, and we have great shows for you that I will happy to mention after this. So let's get into our news. So let me get my stuff together here, and let's see here, and let's look at Microsoft. Microsoft's been quite a busy company lately, because, you know, Xbox is, let's be honest here, but Xbox had a very quiet generation so far in here. They're still doing successful. They're still making games. They're still making a lot of money, but they're not the big highlights compared to PlayStation. You know, Sony has been, you know, basically kicking butt. They've been having great press conference a couple years, and they've been just shooting out games, and they just been having a large library. Even Nintendo, you know, with the new Switch, and I will give you, granted, the new coat of paint or a new console can kind of take the highlight from certain things, but still, Nintendo's doing very successful for their Switch right now, and they're taking the highlight too, especially with the new Smash Brothers and the other games. But Microsoft, to me, has been very quiet, and what they've been doing since their E3 conference is just trying to maybe look at it like a rebrand, or bringing new stuff, or getting ready to come back into the game with these new games, new ideas, new format. And there's still this debate about, you know, Xbox is still better than PlayStation on certain aspects, and PlayStation is still better than Xbox in their aspect, right? So where I'm getting at is, Xbox had their special event, you know, XO18. And I'm guessing they had one last year, but I guess I kind of forgot about it, or it just blew past, and you know, I never took notice of it. But they had an event, And it looks like they really came out swinging because there's a lot of news that happened on here. But I'm not going to stick too long with all this stuff. But I just want to give you highlights. So the first bit of news that I found was the fact that there's an indie strategy shooter game coming from the BioShock director. And the director is the guy that, he helped create the studio Irrational Games. And those are people that did, your BioShock, BioShock 2, BioShock Infinite, all that stuff. So, that was run by Blue Macho and Jonathan Che. And, they also directed System Shock 2. But this new game they came out, it's more of looks like a crazy space game. First person shooter strategy still wise. It's called Void Bastards. So definitely check it out. You can see the video off our page that you can find on Facebook and Twitter. Just make sure you type in the in-game boss program or at symbol program in. Okay. So the game is very interesting because it takes place in space where it looks like you're basically evading these ships, to find information, treasure, and all this stuff. So there's not a lot of information about it, but the trailer kind of explains a little bit of how the gameplay is going to be. It is very comic book like, from the point where like you shoot and destroy stuff. They make sound. They have those famous sound noises with words on it. When you smack somebody, it'll say smack, or you shoot somebody, or it blows up something, it'll say boom. All that stuff. So definitely check that out. There was a new trailer from the Just Cause games. And with Just Cause 4 coming out, they were basically showing you more of the crazy weather control that they do that. Because Just Cause 4 was basically created for a new engine for this special occasion. And if you don't know what Just Cause is, it's basically what it is. Just Cause. It's basically you, a badass, causing mayhem and being a badass hero. So definitely check it out if you're a big fan of it, or you just now notice and, curious to play it. Go ahead and jump in. This is a game where you can play it you can start anywhere in the entry and you'll be just fine. I heard 3 is pretty good, so definitely check that out. One of the big news is Microsoft acquired Obsidian Entertainment. Now, this is a big deal because these are the people that are behind a lot of games that they did for Bethesda. They did for, for a lot of stuff, actually, even for, Star Wars. So they're known for Fallout New Vegas, which is a popular one, South Park, The Stick of Truth, Pillar of Eternity, Knights of the Old Republic 2, Star Wars, Alpha Protocol, Tyranny, and Dungeon Siege 3. Those are your popular ones. This is a big deal because Obsidian has been around for quite a while, and they've been really working on a lot of licensed games, and including their own RPGs, which most RPGs are more like turn-based RPG games, but more of a strategy to it. It kind of reminds me of Divinity. That's the only one I can think of right now, because the fact that Divinity is one of those games, for a first time, I never played a game like that before, and I actually enjoyed it. I played with my buddy Nam Tran. So definitely check that out. But this is a big deal because Obsidian needed a home. And with Obsidian getting bought by Microsoft, this fills in a giant hole that Microsoft has been having for the longest time, is RPGs. I mean, when's the last time that you can honestly think of a great RPG straight from the in-house of Microsoft? Not a lot. They're mostly focused on action games most of the time. But this is their chance for Obsidian to come create up something really unique with that Microsoft dough. So hopefully Obsidian will, take that to consideration and come out with a bunch of stuff. I mean, hell, maybe we'll get an Alpha Protocol 2, a game that has a lot of potential. Never played it, looked at it, read some reviews on it, put my input into it. I think it's a game that just didn't come out right. It looks like you put it in the oven and it was a little undercooked, and you put it back in, but you gone too far. Now it's burnt. Anyways, so that is great for Microsoft. I'll be talking more about that on one of my other shows that I'll be announcing soon to you in this show. So definitely check that out. Next bit of news is that's not the only one they acquired. They also acquired the people that made the Wasteland series. That is another strategy RPG kind of style game. Well, not strategy. It's more of an RPG, open world, but it's still a top-down kind of game per se. And this company is called Inzile Entertainment. And that is from Brian Fargo Studio. So he's the one that created. And, this is another one. So now they have two companies that are going to help push more RPGs into that. And so I would love to do an episode soon, maybe not on here, but some part, maybe this one, but a series, a talk about which studio, what's out of Sony and Microsoft, you know, what their lineup's looking like, you know, their studios and everything. You know, it seems like they're about to be matched up. Like, you know, Microsoft is trying to really come in hard. They're trying to be ready for the next gen against the PS5 that recently got announced, but not coming out anytime soon. So, you know, but that's still a big plus for them. Next bit of news is Xbox One gains mouse and keyboard support starting probably as I speak. So this week. And if it's not this week, then it's definitely the week after. So, and the reason why they're announcing it is because it's going to be on Fortnite and Warframe. So I guess now, since they're going to be on the consoles itself, now you can probably evenly match up with people on PC. So we might see where that goes with it. I'm excited to kind of see some feedback on, hey, does this work really well, or it doesn't work really well? And we don't know how much it's going to be, or could it be any keyboard or mouse you can use to play it? I don't know. But next up is Sea of Thieves announced a new fast-paced PvP mode, but it's not Battle Royale per se, I guess. But is it? I don't know. But, you know, Sea of Thieves to me is a game that had a great idea from Rare, but it doesn't have a lot of meat on it. And I think they concentrated more of giving you this luscious, beautiful world, but not giving you a lot of stuff to do in that beautiful world. And so this gives them a chance to add more stuff to it. To me, it should, in my opinion, it should be work on giving us more great adventures for us instead of these different modes. But I could be wrong. Let's see what goes with that. Final Fantasy 13 Trilogy joins the Xbox One backwards compatibility program, which if you're a Final Fantasy 13 fan, that's great. Me, I'm not a big fan of that series or the fan of that trilogy. Final Fantasy 13, I think, had a great cast, but I think there was a lot of missteps on the gameplay. I didn't like the idea of you can only control one character, and that one character dies, everybody dies. I'm not a big fan of that, especially when I did the final fight. That, you know, that fight is not short, it's long, and you invest so much time into it, you know, and when you can die from an instant kill, it kind of ruins it, you know. And if you disagree with me, definitely hit me up. You know, my name on Twitter is @RetroM07, so let me know if I'm right or wrong on that. Do you like the trilogy? Tell me why. So, and then the last bit of news is finally Crackdown 3, dated for mid-February 2019. And I guess it's a long time coming for a game that personally should have been canceled. I mean, is anybody really excited about it? I mean, I think it's now a game like it's there and is there. And when people get their hands on it, they might enjoy it. But the hype train for it has fell off, I think, a couple years ago, where they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing it back. But Microsoft is not giving up because Crackdown 3, I think, is one of one of the most important flagship for them, for open world game to replace, like, you know, Grand Theft Auto, a bunch of other games, Sleeping Dog, all this stuff, their own world. And I think at one point too, I swear, like, Terry Crews was the main star of this game, but then I think it went back to the regular character. So I don't know anymore. But one of the big things that they added to it is, I guess, a revamp or just multiplayer in general for it. And also on top of that, hopefully the destruction system is still kind of cool, what they're going to do with it. But Crackdown 3, I'm glad you're coming out, because you can come out, do your thing, and then we can move on from there. And so that's it for the news part. But let's get down to the updates. So, as you know, we are a network of games and variety shows, and we have 4 great shows to tell you about. So the first one on the update is going to be the Game of Halls of Rivalries, the show I do with Criticism. And that is a show where we pin 2 characters together and we talk about what they have done for gaming. Not so much, you know, who would win in a fight, but basically, you know, what have they done for the gaming industry because of the rivalries, and who brought more flavor into the gaming soup up here. So The new one that's going to be coming out next, because the last one we were mentioning is the last one that recently came out was Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter, and we talked about the famous duos that are fighting in house of Sony, and then even the one before that we had Dante and Bayonetta, and that was a really good conversation because we got to know Dante and Bayonetta that were created by the same creator. The same creator that left, Capcom to create Platinum Games. And having looked back, and Platinum Games is probably one of my favorite studios. So I'm so happy for them that that these characters are existing because, Dante was this big flagship of action games, and Bayonetta came in and giving, his run for his money. Now, Bayonetta 3 is being announced, and Devil May Cry 5 is right around the corner now. So it's great to see these games are still pushing and everything like that. But what's the next one on the list? So by the time you're listening to this episode, we're going into a little bit of a horror era. And we're going to be talking about Tyrant and Pyramid Head, the two most terrifying creatures in the beginning of gaming. More in the mid, during the PlayStation 2 era. So definitely listen to that one that comes out that Thursday. Next up is Bond Never Dies. That's our James Bond podcast. And what we're doing about that show is we go through all the James Bond shows and we kind of talk about through the whole show, what the movie's about and put our opinions on it and have fun with it. And that's the one I do with Travis Hanna. So we are still in the Roger Moore era. And, we just gone through the Sean Connerys. So definitely check all those episodes out. And this one here, we're going to space with Moonraker. So definitely check that one out. If you are a Roger Moore fan, you'll definitely need to listen to this one because, the Roger Moores are pretty up and down. I think it had a bad beginning, but, it had a very good middle and a decent ending. So definitely, please listen to it and give your feedback to us. And then lastly, we have Area 44. And Area 44 just put out their recent episode, which I am a co-host on, and the man running that flagship is none other than John Robles. So definitely check that out. And we definitely just talked about some new stuff. We talked about the Smash Bros. Event that's been announced. We talked about the crazy announcement of Diablo Immortal coming on the phone. That's the crazy part. And how the crowd react to it. And I promise you, it wasn't very pretty. One person actually asked if that was an April Fool's joke. Definitely read some articles about it and listen to our inputs about it. And then on top of that, we talk about the PlayStation list. The new PlayStation Mini, or whatever you want to call it, is coming out on December 3rd with 20 games. And it has been getting a lot of mixed reviews, a lot of mixed input, and a list that doesn't quite maybe live up to your expectation that you want on your classic PlayStation. And it's so crazy because the Japanese edition seems to be a little bit better than the one we get here. So definitely check that out. But a new show is joining the family. And this show is basically, we are working on bringing this once a month. It's a collaboration with Bloggen Studios run by Richard Taplin, but it is a podcast into his network. And it is called AOS Podcasts. And that is run by Richard Taplin and his brother, Tony. And I was on there not too long ago as one of their bosses. They had to, go at it and had to beat. But we are now coming together to do a collaboration. And I'm so happy about this show because this is a show that has been around since the Gamer Stand, where it was more in-house, where we all get together and we do a giant debate. And we called it the War Room. And we would take these heated debates and just, get at it and attack each other. And it's just so much fun to me. So I wanted to make this more of a collaboration. So this one is called the Gaming War Room Sessions. And that, like I said, it's going to be out once a month where we talk about what's going on in gaming and everything like that. We have different topics. So, I can't wait to bring that out. And hopefully later on we'll have guests come through, join the War Room. And it's just more to sit back and just relax and have fun and just let loose. So I'm very excited to announce that because by the time you listen to this episode, we'll be wrapping that up and getting that ready to premiere this month. So definitely be ready for that. And so, and with that is the end of my news and update. And we're going to take a break, and we come back. We continue our stage talking about Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi. We'll be right back. Hey listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, aka your in-game boss. And I want to let you know that this is not the only show you can listen to. We got great shows like the In-Game Boss Podcast, the Gaming Halls of Rivalries, Bond Never Dies, and Area 44, and more to come. So if you enjoyed this show, make sure you follow and subscribe to the network so you're always updated with the newest episodes and update on any other news that happens in the In-Game Boss program. So, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the show. Hi, if you love video games and you love video game icons or characters, then please walk down the Gaming Halls of Rivalries with us as we go through two iconic characters that rival each other in the gaming industry. Gaming characters like Mario and Sonic,
or Lara Croft and Nathan Drake,
or like Dante and Bayonetta,
and Master Chief and Samus.
If you enjoy these characters, then please visit the Gaming Halls of Rivalries as part of the In-Game Boss program and enjoy fun information and fun stories and the future of these characters. Thank you. And welcome back. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, and it's time to get into our main segment. So let's go ahead and walk down to my office where we can get the rest of my stuff and talk about the main thing. So, Mario is quite a character. You know, we grew up with him. I mean, even if you don't even play his games, you know who he is. And to me, he's becoming more popular than Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny. He's becoming this giant icon where, like, he's just leading the way for gaming. You know, he has done sports games, he's done racing games, he has done party games, he has fought other characters. He had a cartoon, he had comics, he even had characters that come in, been influenced, or the fact that anytime you're with Mario, you end up giving your own thing. I mean, Princess Peach had her own game that was on the DS. Luigi, it has his own series with the mansion with the vacuum hunting ghosts. Wario had his own series after the Super Mario Land 2 game. I mean, the fact that Toad even has his own game, Captain Toad. Bowser doesn't have his own game yet. Hopefully he will soon. But, you know, Donkey Kong ends up having his own game. You know, all these characters start having their own games because of how popular Mario is. And, you know, it's kind of more like these characters deserve to be part of this, you know, this gold coin mine of success. And so, but today I want to talk about a game that I think a lot of people have probably been asking for secretly. I don't think they've been out loud saying it per se. I think it's more of people just wanting to have it, but they don't know how they want it to have it, right? So today I want to talk about why we haven't seen these four plumbers, Mario, Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi, come together for one game. Now, before we even get into this, I really want to talk about like where some of these characters, not so much Mario and Luigi, but where Wario and Waluigi have came from. Now, if you're not familiar with those, I'm not going to go deep with this. I'm really just going to say that Wario is from the Super Mario Land series. That's where he premiered, and he actually took over after Super Mario Land 2, where he was the antagonist and then became this villain / anti-hero. And then from there, Wario just went nuts. It's so nuts that he ended up having these crazy mini games series called WarioWare. And even in Smash Brothers, he's just guns insane. He became a plumber to a motorcycle person to basically he believes any disguise he comes in, that's what he is. If he wants to be a superhero, he's a superhero. You know, he becomes this crazy, just insane character. And so much that he has over 5 or 6 games under his belt for his success and everything. And then you have Luigi, that always been the shadow of Mario, so now getting his own game where he's hunting down ghosts. Now, you know, they always portray Luigi as, you know, a fraidy cat. You know, the fact that he is Mario always leads the way, and he always kind of trails behind. Hopefully Mario will defeat and all that. But it's funny too, because Luigi has changed so many personalities in these different games. From the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga, I think his personality changed a little bit. From the Paper Mario games, I think he changed a little bit. But from his solo games, he's the Luigi that we expect him to be. This guy that's scared but tries to overcome the fears that he has. And that's because he's by himself. When he's with Mario, he's a little bit more brave because he has backup. And then we have Waluigi. Waluigi is a character that actually premiered in the Mario Tennis games. And then he's just been a character in party games. I mean, heck, there is a community that's been not per se harassing Nintendo, but just, shouting out their voice of putting him as a playable character in Smash Brothers. Now, I'm not against it, but at the same time, I'm not heartbroken if he's not in it. But I understand that we want our favorite characters in there. But to tell you the truth, I can think of 10 other characters that would be better than Waluigi. But I understand people's feelings. So, give or take, Waluigi would still be a great addition to that if it works out. Now, the reason why these 4 characters are important because these characters, still to this day, I think they're considered still plumbers, I guess. Now, Nintendo announced one time that Mario's no longer a plumber. He's just a guy that goes around saving the world. And then they gave him his license back, I guess. So now they're back to being plumbers again. I mean, he's back to being a plumber again, right? So to me, all these 4 characters are all plumbers. But the problem is, to me, is that here's these characters that have been around so long, and Mario and Luigi have been together only when it comes to group games, like the Super Mario game, the new Super Mario Brothers, and whatever 3D world they want to do. Now, the last entry was Super Mario 3D World, which that include, the Mario 2 team again, and that, that's Luigi, Princess Peach, and Toad. And that's the last time you actually saw those characters together on one giant adventure, which I think it was a fantastic game on the Wii U. And, you had the new Super Mario Brothers, but like in that game, it was only really Mario and Luigi and the 2 Toads. And now with the new one coming out for the Wii U, the Deluxe Edition, we are now getting Toadette that has the ability to become Peachette. So now there's, that whole conspiracy theory, is Peach really a human princess, or is she now a mushroom that became a princess? We don't know. But that's beside the point. Why hasn't these 4 characters come together yet? These 4 characters would be so much fun together. I mean, they're all unique in their own way, and they just bring so much insaneness in it. Mario's more of your balanced person. Luigi is more of your, your scaredy cat. Wario is the more insane person, and Waluigi is a little bit of Mario and Waluigi together. I mean, Wario and Luigi. And these 4 characters are just so unique and cool in their own way. And it'd be so funny. It's not so much of them against each other. I think that's too easy. I think it needs to be them together, where they have to work together to go on this giant adventure. So the first question basically is, will we ever see these 4 characters come together again? I like to believe yes. I believe that Nintendo maybe haven't realized that they're sitting on a gold mine, per se, of these 4 characters. Or the fact that they haven't really, haven't considered the idea yet. But I believe that it's there, and I think maybe they have. There's a lot of things that go through my mind with this, and maybe through your mind, because there's a lot of artwork. People are putting so much ideas of what these 4 characters are capable of. And to me, I think that this is now the best time to bring these characters in. Hell, if they could have done it with the new Super Mario Deluxe Edition, why not put those 2 characters in there and have fun with it? But then again, at the same time, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Maybe they need to solely be their own game, dedicated of what they're doing, because there's so much capability. Wario's a crazy character. If you haven't played, a Wario game, or, the Shake Up Wario on the Wii, or the Wario World on the GameCube, Wario's insane. Wario is basically your wrestler, smash anything in his hand. He doesn't really jump on people. He really just punch and, bulldoze people. And then Waluigi, which we don't really know what he's capable of. I mean, he's mostly party games, so we don't know what he can do. But I'm pretty sure he'd be more of the mischief person. I think he's the one that would bring all the explosives to the match. All the weapons and everything. He would be the one with bringing the hammers, the bombs. He looks like that kind of character that always has something up his sleeve. And maybe the mustache is giving him too much credit, but give or take, it is what it is. And then, of course, Mario and Luigi, they just do what they're normally good at. We play enough of their games that we kind of already know what they're capable of. So, to that question, I think yes. I think there's a possibility that this will happen. And if it doesn't happen in this generation, hopefully in the next one, because people would probably love the idea of these 4 characters coming through this. So, it comes to the next question. What kind of game will we want? So, there's a couple ideas that I have for them. And one, you can do a traditional 2D one, just like the new Super Mario Brothers, and you have these 4 characters work together going through a level for a bigger cause. Would it be against Bowser? Well, that can be the easy answer, yes, but maybe we can put a twist on it and do something completely different. How about a new boss that took over the kingdom? And and Wario and Waluigi have to help them out. Well, because they affected them too. So you can do something like that, and it can be traditional platforming, going through these 7 worlds once again. But each level needs to be creative and alternate routes to something. I think that'd be kind of cool. How about levels where you have alternate routes to get to the end of what you're doing? So, for instance, like if you decided maybe some games did this. I can be completely wrong, but you can have where maybe there's certain levels that you can go through underground, or you can take it by land. So, you can go through the main level through the land, or maybe you prefer going down underground and going through that level. Different alternate routes to succeed through the levels. And then you got different abilities for these characters to have to get through the level. Now, the goal is not to make the levels too easy. You want a little bit of a challenge because, tell you the truth, Wario games are so easy because Wario is almost indestructible. He can basically bully his way through anything. So you kind of have to cut that back a little bit for the sake of Waluigi and Mario and Luigi. But you still don't want to lose Wario's abilities to be this badass that he is, right? So you want to go through that by giving some really cool bad guys to fight, or just some ideas of them doing teamwork too. Like, Mario and Wario could do some cool moves together while Luigi and Luigi, vice versa, switch it all around. And the reason also I would love about it is the power-ups. Now, that leads to the 3Ds, which that's the one I prefer. I think Wario, Waluigi, and Luigi and Mario should be in more of a 3D realm, and it should be like Super Mario 3D World. They're kind of getting more of an open space and these cool abilities. Now, I love the cat idea that they did in the Super Mario 3D World with Peach and Toad, and I would love them to implement that into this one, but also other crazy ideas. If you play a Wario game, or you have or play any kind of game, you will see that there's so many crazy costumes and ideas that Wario had in his game that could be implemented into this series, and even brand new ideas of this. So it can just be more of a goofy style game. And with that, maybe you'll have Wario more laid back on stuff, and then Waluigi can really turn it up with his crazy trap ideas or whatever abilities they want to give him. And also, it'd just be so funny to see what they would do in this with these costumes. Have you seen Wario and Waluigi abilities if they have the fire flower on them? Have you seen what they would be if they're humongously large? Have you seen them if they were wearing like the Hammer Brothers outfit? Would you think that'd be funny if they had different other costumes that ability that would do? What about multiple Warios and Waluigi running around? These are a lot of potential ideas that would make the game so much fun and hilarious, because that game has to be over the top funny. Like with the craziest boss fights, craziest levels, and just the fact that like I want to play that game all the time and replay, playing a different character and have a heck of a time with it. And of course, it has to be 4 players. 4 people have to be ability to play this game, and online, by the way, where all my friends can just have a good time with the character they desire. And that's what the thing about these Mario games, it has to be multiplayer for it. And Now, another game that can work for them is the RPG era, and I'm talking about the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. And this is another way for these characters to come in because you can bring in the RPG elements. Now, the Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga are mostly button in the moment active turn-based game where you're interactive at all times. Like if they shoot a fire at you, you have to literally press A to jump. If you're going to land on the character, you got to press the button at the right time. So these are, quick buttons events per se. And they have gone through 4 with a remake of the first one, and the newest one will be great. And there's some fan pictures of this game of these 4 characters together, and that would be kind of cool to see these 4 characters work together for a new cause going through. And so I would absolutely love the idea of these 4 characters going into this RPG world with the craziest story idea you have, going against a brand new boss. And, if you want to include Bowser in the gang to this, so be it. I'm fine with it. I'm open to it. I just think these 4 characters belong together as some great adventure. And that's it. And so, but, with this episode being short and going into this, I would love to hear everybody's input into the idea. Now, once again, this is just a very simple episode for me, and I just wanted to get the idea through your head. I don't have a lot of details on how I want to do these characters. All I want is the idea of that in your head and the idea of Nintendo thinking about, could these 4 characters do a great game together? And I believe so, and I believe it will come because it deserves to come. It deserves our attention, and it gives Mario a new branch to grow on, of a new series that we can love so much, and make that, you could have a 2D edition, you have a 3D edition, and you can have RP edition, and make that its own series. Maybe the Wario games are not going successful as we want, probably. So this gives the chance to bring that. It gives a chance for Waluigi to get out of the sports realm and that be on his own, a game with his other friends or bad guys or whatever the heck you want to put him as. But let's get these 4 characters together. Let's get them on a giant adventure and let's have fun with it. But what kind of game would you like to see? You can always email me at the ingameoffice@gmail.com. You can talk to me on Twitter. You can talk to me on Facebook. What kind of game would you like to see these 4 characters do? Do you want it to be an RPG game? Do you want it to be another sports game? Do you want it to be an adventure game? Do you want it to be a racing game? Do you want it to be an arcade-ish kind of game? Like, what is your idea of these 4 characters coming together to do stuff? And I would love to hear all those inputs. But remember, you can listen to our shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and of course, Podbean. And those are the best source to go see the show. But if you can't find these shows, definitely visit our Facebook and Twitter page by, typing in the In-Game Boss program. And that's the full thing. Type that whole thing out and you will find everything. But that is where we will put our episodes on, so you can find an easy link to those. And I want to thank everybody for helping to support my stage 1. As we go into stage 2, I'm excited to come out with new ideas, new fun stuff, brand new guests for this holiday and going into the next year. And the goal is just to keep this network going, get the name out, get my name out, and do the things that we love about gaming and podcasting. And hopefully I want to reach out to other podcast shows that are in gaming around the world and connect with each other, because I want to touch every state in the United States for podcasting. I want to get at least one listener from Alaska. I think that's one of my biggest goals, is like, can I get one person in Alaska listening? Because I don't know what goes on up there, but I want somebody to listen to us. And I also want to get a listen from Canada, because I like to look at my status to see which countries, states are listening to us. And Alaska and Canada would be a great input to hey, I got one listener from Canada. That'd be awesome. But remember, if you love the show and everything, please follow the show and please subscribe to the show, so you can always be updated with all our news, our updates, what new shows are coming, and be there to chat with us, because we would love your inputs. So definitely email us, talk to us, tell us we're doing great, tell us what we're doing wrong, tell us what episodes you would like to hear, what some of the improvements that you like to do, because every episode I'm doing, I'm always learning. And so input is always a great help to help improve and weigh out my balance of how I want to approach different shows. And with that, I will catch y'all on our next stage. Stage clear, let's go.